Congressman Sean Patrick Maloney of New York's 18th Congressional District asked Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman about his opening statement when Colonel Vindman told his father not to worry about him because he's telling the truth.
And he would have worried if you were putting yourself up against the President of the United States. Is that right?
He deeply worried about it because in his context, there was the ultimate risk.
And why do you have confidence that you can do that and tell your dad not to worry?
Congressman, because this is America. This is the country I've served and defended, that all of my brothers have served, and here, right matters.
Thank you, sir. Yield back.
Joining us now is Representative Sean Patrick Maloney, Democrat from New York. He's a member of the House Intelligence Committee and was obviously at today's hearing. Congressman Maloney, that was a very powerful section of the testimony. It's actually got a much longer burst of applause there than we showed on the video. What made you want to bring Colonel Vindman's attention back to that statement he made directly to his father in the opening statement?
Well, I just thought it was moving. I think all of us who read it were struck by it. And in the hurried moments early in the hearing, I didn't feel it got the attention it deserved, and I just really wanted to ask him about it. And boy, I got more than I bargained for. I mean, what he said at the end. I get emotional thinking about it when he said, "This is America. I fought for it. My brothers fought for it." And here, right matters. Boy, that's our challenge, it seems to me. Because I think that's up in the air, frankly, whether it's going to matter, whether this is going to get through. And I just feel we owe it to guys like Lieutenant Colonel Vindman to make sure he's right about that.
I just want to show a passage where Jim Jordan was trying to go after the colonel's judgment and qualifications. Let's take a look at how that played out.
So your boss had concerns about your judgment. Your former boss, Dr. Hill, had concerns about your judgment. Your colleagues had concerns about your judgment. And your colleagues felt that there were times when you leaked information. Any idea why they have those impressions, Colonel Vindman?
Yes, Representative Jordan. I guess I'll start by reading Dr. Hill's own words, as she attested to in my last evaluation that was dated middle of July, right before she left. Alex is a top 1% military officer and the best Army officer I've worked with in my 15 years of government service. He is brilliant, unflappable, and exercises excellent judgment.
And Congressman, as you know, there's more to it that he was too modest to continue reading. But best Army officer I've worked with in 15 years of government service is about as high praise as you can get.
Right. And of course, you're not selected to work on the National Security Council unless you're one of the very best. Everything about Lieutenant Colonel Vindman screams excellence, and not just excellence, but real duty. And he used that word. Why did you report it when you knew it was wrong? Because it's my duty, he said. Remember, Mr. Morrison is reporting it too, but he's reporting it so that they restrict access and cover it up. Vindman went up there because he knew it was wrong. And thank God there's still guys like Lieutenant Colonel Vindman who know right from wrong. And it's these foreign service officers and these military officers who right now are going to save our democracy.
Congressman, what was your assessment of the most important points of evidence in today's hearings?
Oh, well, you have now direct witnesses saying we heard the president with our own ears. Jennifer Williams said it, who works for Vice President Pence, who's worked for a bunch of Republicans. And you've got Lieutenant Colonel Vindman saying we heard it and we knew it was wrong in sum and substance. She said it was inappropriate and unusual. He said it was improper and reported it. And then, of course, you've got Ambassador Volker, who now says, oh, if I had only known that Burisma meant the Bidens, I would have raised my own objections. I would have considered it to be wrong. That's a big shift from when he came in and testified the first time, and I'm glad he's cleaning that up. But it aligns his testimony with the other witnesses. And, of course, Mr. Morrison, who also heard the call, who confirms all the key events in question, and then who, by his actions, demonstrated how serious he knew it was. These are all witnesses who were in the room, who were directly listening to the president, who were responsible for the policy. They detonate the Republican talking point that this is only second or third hand or hearsay. This is powerful testimony.
And Tim Morrison established the Sondland principle, I guess we could call it at this point, where Sondland told him that the only way Ukraine is going to get the aid is if they publicly announce the investigations.
Yeah, no, that's right. We know Ambassador Sondland, who will testify tomorrow, delivered the, unvarnished quid pro quo to the Ukrainians in Warsaw on September 1st. You don't get the aid. You don't get the White House meeting unless we get the specific language in a statement by the president to CNN. They literally said that calls for an investigation of the Bidens. Ambassador Sondland now is going to come in and have to testify to that. He's, of course, going to also have to remember now the conversation he had that David Holmes overheard, that he so famously characterized as the president not giving an expletive about Ukraine, only about the investigation of the Bidens. Mr. Sondland is a very important witness because he's, again, directly speaking to the president.
Quickly before you go, Congressman, Ambassador Sondland tomorrow is going to have to change his testimony again. He's changed his under oath testimony for your committee once before. He's obviously going to have to change it in relation to David Holmes overhearing the now infamous cell phone call. Is Gordon Sondland's legal future on the line in how he testifies under oath tomorrow morning?
Of course it is, but then it is for every witness who testifies under oath. That's to be expected. I think if Ambassador Sondland resolves to tell the whole truth, then he can come in and he won't have anything to worry about. None of us are out to get, Ambassador Sondland, and none of us even want him to say any particular thing. We just want the truth. We want him to come in and tell us what he knows. It should not be this hard to get someone to talk about events that happened just a few weeks before his first testimony. And we are getting there because of the way we approached this investigation, which was to not let him coordinate his testimony with other witnesses, to do it behind closed doors at first, like any good investigator would, and then to surround him with other testimony that he can not evade. And so he has to tell the truth. I think you're going to see him come with the whole truth tomorrow.
Congressman Sean Patrick Maloney, and I'm sure I speak for everyone in our audience, including, by the way, Republicans on the committee are all very impressed with the way you use your 5 minutes in these hearings, and we really appreciate you joining us tonight. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on the button below for more from The Last Word and the rest of MSNBC.